I don't know how else to document things, but this is the ugly side of separation and divorce. When you don't truly understand what is going on, when you are stepping into a new career, and the person that is supposed to be your person is not there to tell you how happy they are for you and how proud they are for your first date.
God! You can't make this up!
You can't stop crying because you miss their touch. You miss their sarcasm.
Oh, boo-hoo!
She thought divorce was going to be a fresh start and a new career. Then reality hit. The tears came out and somehow the man she was leaving became the bad guy for not being there. God, you can't make this up. Oh, boo-hoo, are you serious? You divorced the guy, why would he come and congratulate you on your first day? It's not your first day of school, it's just a job and you're an adult. You kicked him out of your life and now you're shocked he's not there to hold your hand. I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. You made the choice, now live with it. If you miss all these things, then why did you leave? You made a choice and now you're filming yourself crying in a car, posting it online and asking strangers not to judge, and the comments agree. I divorced him, why won't he be there for me? He did exactly what she asked for and she still didn't like it. You're a nurse. You worked hard, good for you, but you don't get to miss him and leave him. You chose the streets. Now drive.
You miss everything about them. You miss their smell in the mornings. You miss their go grab a Red Bulls. You miss every single ounce of them. And you don't know what to do. But this is day one of my journey of being a 40-year-old, newly licensed registered nurse who worked her butt off to get here. That is also going to go through a divorce from the person that she thought she was going to spend all of eternity with. So please don't judge if you see me out today and I can't stop crying, or if you ask me how I'm doing and I don't have an answer, because I don't. I don't know how I am. I know that I feel empty and I feel hollow. And I am trying my best.
I'm here to tell you right now.
Men lose their houses, cars, kids, and half their paycheck. Marriage today is a coin flip. Heads, you stay together, maybe tails, you lose your house, your kids, your savings, and end up sleeping couch to couch. You're gambling everything you worked for on a 50-50 chance. And for what? You'll be alone, so being alone means keeping your money, your peace, and your sanity.
Why is it so hard for single moms to understand that the reason baby daddies don't want to pay child support is because they're saving their money to spend on the people and things that they care about?
You're goddamn right.
With all due respect, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, divorce saves women's lives. Quoting studies from 1982 and 2009 while ignoring family court in 2026, men benefit financially from divorce. Tell that to the guy ending up on the street and paying alimony to a wife who cheated.
I'm never going to get married. I don't want to get married.
Why?
There's no benefit for the man. He only has everything to lose. A man can be completely faithful to his wife, provide, protect, take care of the kids, obviously when he's not working, whatever. And the wife can step out and cheat. And what's the result of that? Man has to pay alimony, has to pay child support, loses his house, loses the cars, loses everything. Why? What's the point? And then, it's a coin flip. Flip a coin if your marriage is going to work. Those are the odds. Those are the chances. There's been nothing with the courts.
Why alone?
The only reason why somebody is not okay being alone is because they're not okay with themselves. If you're not okay being alone, you have issues with yourself that you need to take care of.
That's what I'm talking about. Don't know if you knew that, but if you're collecting child support, that means you're the one doing the bare minimum because somebody else now has to fund your life. Both have the same amount of bills minus the child. You still have to pay rent, you still have to pay your utility bills, you still have to pay your car note. So if you couldn't handle all those things on your own and you need somebody else's money, then yeah, you're the one doing the bare minimum. If you collect child support, you're the one doing the bare minimum. I like this one. If you're collecting child support and alimony, that means you couldn't fund your own life. You need someone else's money to pay your rent, your utilities, and your car note. That's not bare minimum from him, that's bare minimum from you. He's paying because the court said so, you're collecting because you couldn't survive.
Divorce absolutely benefits women more than men, but not for the reason the podcast bros tell you. The adoption of no-fault divorce, female unaliving rates dropped 6% immediately and 20% over time. There was no significant change in male unaliving, but domestic violence rates went down for both categories. They also found a decline in women being unalived by their partner. No difference in men. I'm calling this series Everything Men Say is Projection, because the podcast bros will tell you women use divorce as a financial industry. But the reality is men benefit financially from getting married and divorced.
You smell that? I smell cat.
Women suffer financial penalties in both. Married men make more money than single men, but married and single women tend to make about the same. And in 1982, studies were showing that divorce actually made men richer, not poorer. And that research was reaffirmed in 2009. The researcher was a man, so all the men can calm down. According to him, the general belief that men get fleeced by their divorces while women get richer and live off the proceeds has long been due for exposure as a pernicious myth. So sure, divorce benefits women more, but not financially. It benefits us because it literally saves our life.
With all due respect, what the are you talking?
Oh hell no, this is crazy. You have to pay money to someone you're no longer with, someone who might have cheated on you or left you for someone else. And the fact that it used to be permanent, that's not alimony, that's a life sentence for the ex-husband. You could be 60 years old, retired, and still writing checks to a woman who left you a decade ago. How is this legal?
So I just saw a video of a dumb woman that sat there and said that paying child support and alimony is just doing the bare minimum. And it's always, a dumbass female that says those things because she's not the one paying them. But if you are a woman who has to receive child support and receive alimony, that means you're the one doing the bare minimum in life.
That's what I'm talking about.
Don't know if you knew that, but if you're collecting child support, that means you are the one doing the bare minimum. Because that means somebody else has to now fund your life. Because you would both have the same amount of bills minus the child. So you still have to pay rent, you still have to pay your utility bills, you still have to pay your car note. So if you couldn't handle all those things on your own and you need somebody else's money, then yeah, you're the one doing the bare minimum. If you collect child support, you're the one doing bare minimum.
You sure about that? You must be talking about the Stone Age. Apparently women were always allowed to work. Maybe not every job, but they worked. Things have improved. Equality is present. But when have you ever seen any of us demand her salary? Never. It's always our salary that's gone and she spends hers on herself.
So if you're married for 26 years, you would get alimony for 19 years. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In Florida, the law now says on alimony, if you're married for 20 years or longer, the recipient spouse is entitled to 75% of the term of the marriage in alimony. Now, the first factor in a determination of alimony is need and ability to pay. But once you get past that hurdle, assume that there is a need and there is an ability to pay, the maximum term of the alimony is 75% of the marriage. So if you're married for 26 years, you would be entitled to alimony for 19 years. And guess what? It used to be permanent if you were married for that length of time in Florida.
Oh, hell!
How is any of this relevant? She's giving examples from decades ago that no longer apply. And now she's saying men don't get alimony because they don't ask for it. No, men don't get alimony because judges don't award it to them even when they ask. You're talking about manipulation, but isn't using something that no longer exists and has been solved years ago manipulation too? Hey y'all, come look at this.
Alimony is financial support paid by one ex-spouse to the other after the marriage has legally ended. Now let's think for a few reasons why this might exist. It is very important to remember that until relatively recently in history, women were one, not allowed in the workforce, and two, even when we were allowed to join the workforce, any money that we brought home automatically was transferred to our husbands.
You sure about?
I said, God help me. What we learned here is marry less than 3 years, just kidding. But seriously, imagine this. You lose half your assets in the divorce and alimony is just the final nail in the coffin. You're already bleeding money. And now the court says, oh, and by the way, pay her for 6 more years.
Reminder, women could not have their own bank accounts until the 60s. And even then it was incredibly rare. So if only one party legally owns all of the money in the household, I don't think it's that difficult to understand how a manipulative or abusive partner could use that over their partner to force them to stay. So this allowed people the opportunity to get out of an abusive relationship, even if they didn't have access to money. Furthermore, do you know the biggest reason that men do not receive alimony at the same rates as women? Because they don't ask for it. Alimony is not an automatic given during a divorce proceeding. And due to internalized misogyny and not wanting to appear weak, men don't ask for it.
Are you serious? So in other words, she wants him to keep paying for years and years just because when he moved for work, she moved too. You'd think she was his right hand, his partner, his support system, but she was probably sitting comfortably at home while he worked. Now she's using I followed you as a lifetime invoice.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
How much alimony would you get if you got divorced in Florida right now? Here are some examples. Many of you know we had a new alimony law that went into effect July 1st, took away permanent alimony, and a lot of people are talking about the law changes, but let's give some practical examples so people out there facing divorce, unfortunately, would actually know what they would be entitled to. Example number 1, you've been married 10 years. That's a moderate term marriage now. You would get durational alimony for 6 years. And if your spouse made $100,000 gross and you made $50,000 gross, the maximum amount of alimony you would get is $1,050. Now, bear in mind, you have to have that much need for that alimony. It's not just a penalty to the other party and a reward for you.
What do you mean by that?
You have to prove that you actually have a need to get that much alimony. Example number 2, you've been married 5 years and your spouse makes $200,000 a year and you make $30,000 per year gross income. The maximum durational alimony you could get in that case is $3,500 per month. And the term you could get it for would be 2.5 years in duration. Example number 3, you've been married less than 3 years. How much alimony can you get? For durational alimony is 0. You have to be married at least 3 years. You can get potentially some rehabilitative alimony or some bridge the gap alimony. This isn't as simple as it seems, though. There's a lot of factors that go into this. I already mentioned the need. Also, you have to include your income that you're getting from the assets you're allocated in the divorce. Always get the advice of a qualified family law attorney in your local area. And just remember, this is Florida law.
I said, God help.
She says, maybe I'll let you off the hook, like she's doing him a favor. He's not on the hook. He paid what he owed.
You said when I asked you if you think it's fair that despite you guys being separated for 8 years at this point, your child is now an adult. So his child support, just to be clear.
Child support now stopped in June last year when my son graduated.
My understanding in California, you have to pay sometimes even beyond, through college. So it could be 21, 22.
Yeah, so it's just a military retirement.
I see. But I asked if you thought it was fair that he was still paying you money all this time, and you said, "Well, I
followed him wherever
you were
he
an
went."
Extension. Now, you said he was a military police officer. I would imagine that a military police officer would encounter the same sort of things that like a civilian police officer deals with, whether it's enforcing the laws of the military.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, they probably do traffic stops on base, or they'll be handling issues with the Marines. And so I guess what specifically were you doing? What were your law enforcement obligations?
I didn't mean it like that.
Him?
I was saying that I was an extension of him, basically, because where the Marine Corps sent him, I went also.
Well, that's a great start, but we see many times that she doesn't need it, yet still gets it. Even in a perfect world, the person would be told to get a job instead.
A corporate job could send a husband to North Dakota or Alaska, and so...
Yeah.
Okay. Could you voluntarily be like, look, you paid your child support, you paid the alimony, maybe I'll let you off the hook. Could you voluntarily do that?
Potentially, I guess.
We do not care. Where was this concern about work experience before? And why is it a problem now? I hear many women study and work while being married. They get degrees, build careers, and raise kids all at the same time. Why make marriage an argument for being incapable of finding a job? You chose to stay home. No one forced you. That was a mutual decision. Now you're using it as an excuse.
Alimony is not meant to give two people the same standard of living. So if you have a job and let's say you make $100,000 a year and your spouse makes $300,000 a year, that doesn't mean you're entitled to alimony just because they make more money than you. Here in Georgia, alimony is based off one party's need and the other party's ability to pay, but the need is the biggest factor. So the court has to find that there's a need and a basis for alimony before it's going to be awarded. Many times people think that when they're going through a divorce, they just get to kick their ex to the curb but still get the benefit of almost their whole paycheck, and that's not how it works.
God, you can't make this up. What do you mean taken away from her? She was in a marriage, not a prison sentence. Even prisoners can study and work. She made choices. She chose not to build skills. That's not his fault. It's like someone living with their parents until they're 30 and then blaming them for having no job. At some point, you have to take responsibility for your own life.
Do people not understand how alimony works? Do you not understand the sacrifices that women, particularly stay-at-home moms, make when they are staying home to raise the children? That is years of being out of the workforce, of being out of a profession. You expect her to try to find a job when she has no work experience for X amount of years. How do you think that would work for you?
We do not care.
I don't know, got to ask them, I don't know exactly. We don't expect anything, find a job or don't. We're no longer together, but blaming us for your situation is insane.
If you had 5 to 7 years of a gap in your employment and you went to apply for a job within your previous professional niche, and they were like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. And before you say like, oh, it doesn't have to be like a professional career or corporate job, you could go work at Lowe's or McDonald's. Work at McDonald's or Lowe's and then also take care and be the main custodial parent for your children on that wage? Come on. Alimony is here to protect women in these instances when they have been no earner or a lower wage earner than their spouse for any duration of their marriage. And a lot of times that is for stay-at-home moms who have been out of the workforce again, remember this, for X amount of years. And now their entire financial net has been taken away from them.
God! You can't make this up!
But yet, they're still the main custodial parent. So they are still supposed to just go on with life, living it in the same way that they did when they were married, but without the finances.
Why don't you get a job?
Without the financial support. Like, do you understand what kind of position that puts someone in? Particularly the woman, because she has historically and statistically been the one who has stayed at home to forego any type of career development or furthering of her profession. She has stayed home to care for the children that you two had together in order for you to advance your career. And now you expect her to just go out after, again, let's say 5 to 7 years of not being employed and find a job that actually pays good enough for her to live off of. Not to mention if she still has kids in daycare, because the cost of daycare is astronomical. So then if she can't afford daycare and she can't afford to work, what do you expect her to do?
I don't know. You gotta ask them. I don't
get support. But right now they have not come to any agreement. So he is a lawyer. He knows the court system really well. She is paying for a lawyer. Obviously, that's very expensive. He's not stupid. So he keeps filing continuations, like doing whatever he can to stretch the process out until she runs out of money to pay for her lawyer and can't argue anymore. So he wants her to agree to a lower amount than she deserves. So his goal is make her run out of money until she finally says, okay, fine, because he doesn't have to pay a penny until that divorce decree is signed. So she's screwed. I mean, she will get support. Yes, she will get support. But until that point, she gets absolutely nothing. And again, she's the one stuck with the kids. So she cannot work, essentially.
All right, ladies, if you're a stay-at-home mom and your backup plan in case of divorce is your ex-husband is going to pay alimony and child support, listen up. When I filed for divorce from my ex-husband, he was making over $200,000 a year. I kicked him out in October of 2018. He paid me nothing. Nothing. I didn't get anything from him until May of 2019, when the judge issued an emergency order for support. And the court then did a wage garnishment with his employer, which was our family windshield business. So in May of 2019, there was a one-time garnishment of Jake's wages for $3,600. That was the only check that I would ever get in that amount. Because I was months behind in rent, all of that check went to back rent, groceries, gas, and it kept me from being evicted for just a couple more months.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
I have received affidavits from my family members who run the windshield business who were involved in this, as well as a couple of employees. The day after Jake's wages got garnished for that $3,600, he began telling people inside of the company, there's about 300 employees, that he was going to get fired. If you quit your job, that's different than if you get fired. So 2 days after the only time that Jake's wages were ever garnished, he went into work that day, got into a huge fight with the main owner of our family business, who's a family member, right in front of all of the employees, told him to f off, called him a fucking pussy. I have this in affidavits. Got all crazy. He was like pushing chairs around and stuff. So that family member had to fire him on the spot.
He's not doing anything illegal. Continuations are part of the legal process. He's using the system to his advantage because that's what lawyers do. And she cannot work because she's raising the kids. Millions of single mothers work and raise kids. That's not an excuse, that's a choice. All right, ladies, if you're a stay-at-home mom and your backup plan in case of divorce is that your ex-husband is going to pay alimony and child support, listen up. When I filed for divorce from my ex-husband, he was making over $200,000 a year. I kicked him out in October of 2018. He paid me nothing. I didn't get anything from him until May of 2019 when the judge issued an emergency order for support and the court then did a wage garnishment with his employer, which was our family windshield business. So in May of 2019, there was a one-time garnishment of Jake's wages for $3,600.